All right, we are back again to talk Skeleton Crew, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to do a 2024 Star Wars This Channel wrap-up and what's coming in 2025, which was your idea, which I thought was a good idea. Because the people staying through to the end are fans, so that's just cool to say. So this episode of Skeleton Crew was You Have a Lot to Learn About Pirates. I like that all the episode titles are taken from a line from the show. It just feels like kind of a classic TV thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to do overall impressions, or do you want me to do the rundown of the episode? Because you only had a chance to watch it once.
I will go ahead and do your rundown first.
Okay, so I'll keep it kind of brief. I did take notes along the way, but we'll keep the rundown kind of brief so we can talk over it and then go piece by piece. We open on the parents, which I liked. I like seeing a little bit of Atten, and I'm glad they haven't dedicated a full episode to what's going on there. The parents are trying to get a transmission out, presumably to their kids, or maybe to someone to look for their kids. And the big conflict there is any communication with the outside galaxy could give away the coordinates of Atten. Wim's dad fumbles through it, almost gets caught by a security droid. Luckily, Fern's mom is the co-under supervisor, whatever her title is, but someone in a position where she can wipe out... Tahu's here. Hey, welcome back, man. Thanks for coming. Where she can wipe out the security droid's memory banks and have it shut down. I thought this scene was cool because in the background the whole time was the supervisor's tower, and now that we've more or less been inside of it, I thought that was an interesting take.
Mm-hmm.
Then we jump to the kids, and they're trying to figure out where to go to find Atten, and SM-33 gives a lot of details. They have them tied up on a table with ropes, which was kind of funny. KB said that she routed around whatever that was in his brain, the tear him limb from limb command, so that he wouldn't be dangerous anymore. He says those are the old captain's orders. Fern says don't hurt us. So that's taken care of, which was pretty easy. It kind of seems like Fern could have just shut him down or told him not to do it in the first place in the tower if she had that kind of power over him. He says that the ship used to belong to Renaud, I think it was. It was hard for me to hear it.
You're asking the wrong person.
Right.
I don't remember.
So the captain of the Onyx Cinder, the ship that the kids have stolen with Jod, was Captain Renaud. He was looking for Atten. His crew didn't believe that there was an Atten, and when they got closer, said the first mate could kind of smell the treasure. I mean, not literally, of course. And mutiny ensued, which is a good callback for Jod, because that's how the show opened, with him as a captain going for a big score. The big score turned out to be nothing, mutiny, and now that wolf guy's in charge. I thought it was a nice... I thought this episode had a really great balance of everything, but we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves, where he just... SM-33 sits up, all the ropes just break. He goes to the cockpit to take them to the captain's hideaway, Skull Mountain. I forget what the planet was originally called. To find the coordinates at Atten, it would be in his data log. The pirate story ended with Renaud crashing the ship into Atten, killing whoever was left on board. I'm not sure I fully believe that part, because there was like a guy with a dagger through his chest and someone was decapitated, and SM-33 was shut down with his hand on the power lever, so it seems like a little bit more went on than just crashing the ship mid-mutiny. Skull Ridge Mountain is what it was called. So they go to Skull Ridge Mountain, which was transformed into an adults-only resort, and it's not quite as racy as that might sound. The joke we made, it was sandals.
Yeah.
But I also thought it was funny because Nassau in the Bahamas was a place where pirates went to hide away and hide their treasure and stuff like that. And now it is a vacation spot for a lot of people.
Yeah, that is.
So I thought that was kind of a funny comparison, yeah. On the ship, Wim's having a hard time. He's the one who really wanted the adventure, and the adventure is not turning out the way he thought it would, and he's having a hard time coping with it, even though he has these stories about adventure. It's just not what he expected it to be. And Jod was just disgusted by him crying as a kid, which I think they played it for laughs, but I also kind of feel like Jod was probably denied a childhood in a lot of ways, because he does not know how to relate to anybody. He's completely in it for himself, which I'm guessing was a lifetime of having to look out for himself. I don't think he was born a monster.
Yeah.
he tries to give Wim advice, and I think the advice Jod was giving Wim, while terrible advice, I think Jod believed it was the right thing to say. He essentially tells him, forget your mom, forget your dad, forget your friends, just look out for yourself, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
And Wim, being a kid, was like, well, it's not that easy. You can't just forget these people. There was a really interesting line where Jod says, your focus determines your reality. And Qui-Gon says this to Anakin in episode 1, when Anakin's 9 years old. So there is some Jedi knowledge in Jod. He's not a Jedi. He clearly has the Force. But someone along the way told him that, whether he was learning from a Jedi directly or if he met a Jedi at some point who kind of taught him a few parlor tricks. I just thought that quote being used specifically was obviously intentional. It's a very specific quote. Mm-hmm. Also, along the way, I was noting that Jod is very frustrated with having to take order from these kids. His like, cool, go along with it demeanor is definitely cracking in this episode, especially when we get to the end. There was a lot of good comedy when they get to the spas at Skull Ridge Mountain. I thought it was kind of funny they still call it Skull Ridge Mountain. They didn't give it a more pleasant name. The ship comes in, it's barely hanging on. There's like all these nice pristine ships around it. It's this big hulking thing, crashes down, it's dropping pieces, and the supervisor, I don't know what the woman's name was, really not happy with it. And they take the weapon away from Jod, though he grabs it back instantly, which you know is going to come into play later. And they put a restraining bolt on SM-33, which was a funny gag because he kept wanting to attack people and it would shock him and stop him. Mm-hmm. So it worked for the story, and it also worked as a nice comedic bit and a callback to all the other Star Wars projects. Everyone had restraining bolts. We meet a new character, the all-white, white hair, white skin, white-eyed bounty hunter, Pocket, which she was creepy with the white eyes. Yeah, Pocket is a really strange name. But I thought the character design was cool. And did you recognize the voice?
No, I mean, I was just like, that's a thick Irish accent. No, I don't recognize who it is.
I had to verify, but I was pretty sure. It was Kelly MacDonald who played the girlfriend in Boardwalk Empire. Steve Buscemi's eventual girlfriend.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
They did a good job with that makeup then. Because
I that's why I had to verify, because I'm like, it really sounds like her. It's a very, very pronounced Irish accent.
Yeah.
And she's a really good actress. I mean, Boardwalk Empire is all that's coming to the front of my mind. She also did, did you see Brave, the Pixar movie? It was like an Irish folk story, so it makes sense that she would have done it. But she did that voice also, which, Disney, all works together.
Oh.
I don't know if an actor of a name that we recognize is meaning the character's coming back, or if it was just kind of a cool cameo. She got to be part of the Star Wars universe. I guess time's going to tell on that. So on this planet, she is a bounty hunter. She knows Jod by yet another name. I didn't even take note of it. He's got like a dozen names by this point. The kids are kind of calling him out on that. He's worried they're coming for him, and he says, you should hope that she didn't call the bounty out on you. The kids are wanted for their part in destroying that pirate haven, and also he could assume that the parents would have put a bounty out looking for their children, even though he doesn't know that they didn't get the message out. So time is of the essence. These other pirates are coming on them. I think Brutus is the wolf pirate's name, something like that. He sends some ships to get them. So they have to find the symbol of Renaud somewhere on the planet, somewhere in the resort, to get to the lower levels. They find this giant squid. There was a name drop here. They said the Banking Clan, which was one of the main factions that broke away from the galaxy and kind of created the Clone Wars. They funded the Clone Wars. And then you could see a lot of Muns or Moons, M-U-U-N is the species. And they were the ones who kind of ran the Banking Clan. So it was just kind of like a nice Easter egg for long-term fans. The giant squid thing that they find kind of in the depths of the mountain, Cthulhups, I thought was the name, which I'm pretty sure was just a play on Cthulhu, because giant squid thing. He seemed like a menacing figure at first, but he really just wanted them to tell him a story, so the kids are telling him about what happened in the previous episode. and he helps them get into the bottom layer. I loved when they were going through the pirate lair because it was very Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade with the booby traps, and they had to translate the runes and figure out the puzzles. The first puzzle, the decapitation, was just about the same. The other ones were slightly different, but it was kind of a play on it. And also the booby-trapped treasure room was a direct callback to Goonies. They find the ship crashed in that cave and all the treasure had booby traps on it. A lot of this is Goonies for sure. They end up finding the data log, which gives the kids the coordinates to At-Aten, which was very interesting. This is the 5th out of 8 episodes, so they do have to make it to their home planet and kind of figure out what that whole mystery was about, because this season is supposed to tie everything up as if there is no second season, which I kind of have a bad feeling there's not going to be, but we can talk about that later. When they find the coordinates and they learn that At-Aten was an old Republic mint where they make the currency, Jod really showed his true nature. He had the chamber before filled with acid, presumably killing all the pirates in it, or at least a lot of them were trying to get after them. You could argue that was a move of self-defense, but it just seemed pretty brutal to melt that many people. And then he challenges Fern for the captaincy, meaning they have to fight. He wasn't a total monster. He didn't just beat the crap out of this kid, which you're never going to do in a Disney project or a Star Wars project. Hey, Chris Palermo's back too. Hey, Chris, how's it going? Yes, the dog. We had to move back to these chairs. A couple weeks ago, we tried other chairs to have the light up walls in the background, but the dogs were not having it. They have to be touching us at all times. Where was I? Okay, so Jod is now the captain. SM-33 says he has to follow the pirate code. He lets the kids live, but he wanted to take them as prisoners, and Wim hits a stool, falls them through the floor. I jumped the gun a little bit there. As they're going through, Wim finds a lightsaber, which was very cool. And Wim showed some character development and not just grabbing it straight away. Because the whole beginning was, don't touch the button, he touches the button. Don't do this, he does the thing.
And also his rampant obsession with
his obsession with Jedi, yeah. Well, I think seeing Jod as a Force user, but kind of being a piece of crap, he's like, maybe the Jedi aren't all they're cracked up to be, which is not a great representation. Jod is not a Jedi. He even said, I never said I was a Jedi. The scene where Wim goes to defend Fern, he turns the lightsaber on, but it's facing the wrong way. It skitters off the floor. I thought it was a cool moment for the show. It had a lot of drama to it. It was also good for comedy in the moment, and it also reminded me of the Rick and Morty episode where Morty finally gets a lightsaber, but he drops it perfectly vertical, and they have to stop it from hitting the planet core. I thought that was a really funny, probably a callback to that. Maybe it's a joke that a lot of people have made, and that's why Rick and Morty picked it up, but that's where I know it from. So it ends on Jod using the Force to pick up the lightsaber. And the lightsaber is really ornate and had a lot of gold to it, which makes me think High Republic. In the High Republic, the Jedi wore white and gold. It was like their colors. So that's what it made me think of. And that takes place like, I think it's 500 to 700 years before the prequels, something like that. It's when the Acolyte took place, that era, like way before. So that was the episode. Your overall impressions.
Well, for starters, I liked it a lot better than whatever was going on last week.
Yeah, the big problem with last week's, which just one definitely fixed, was it had no, or it had some. It didn't have a captivating individual episode story.
No.
It just kind of like a thing happened, so another thing could happen, so another thing could happen, and it's all resolved without any real issue. None of it really made all that much sense. They just needed to get this information, and the in-between didn't matter why. Where this one stood totally alone. I thought this one was perfectly balanced. You had the parents, it moved the lore forward, it had larger Star Wars Galaxy lore with the lightsabers, the runes that Jod and KB were looking at, I'm pretty sure were Sith runes. It had the banking clan, so it had a lot of Easter eggs and wider things that they could come into play. It doesn't necessarily have to. And it told its full story. I had it written down a little bit better. Whatever, I just thought it was perfectly balanced between showing the parents, showing At-Aten. The kids all got something to do. Each of the 4 kids got to have a moment. There was good character development on Jod. They told the pirate lores. it just really nailed it. For like a 40-minute episode, it felt like they crammed a full movie's worth of stuff into it. So I really liked that. We both kind of laughed when we were watching it together that the actor who plays Wim's dad is just not good.
No, leave Wim's dad alone.
You're the one who said it the first time.
I did say it the first time, and then I recant. Well, I didn't recant.
You just don't want me to harp on about it.
I don't want to be a douche about it.
No, I
am not.
I'm more saying it for laughs. It's just in a show that is so strong and so well done, he's the weak link.
Stiff, but I'm sure he's doing his best.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. There were some things from the outset that I was wrong about. First, I was convinced Jod didn't have the Force, that he was faking it. He very clearly has the Force.
We discussed that. We were wondering if he was just kind of doing like some, is it David Blaine? The
street magician, yeah. Yeah, and they had Haja Kumal Nanjiani's character. They had him doing some fake stuff. So that's what I saw a lot of people referring to that. But he clearly has the Force. He used the Force a lot in this one episode, probably as much in this episode as the other 4 episodes put together. I think to just really hammer the point home that yes, he has the Force. I think I was wrong that there is no supervisor. Kind of. Now my theory is that in the supervisor tower is Captain Renaud.
Oh, okay. I was just thinking it was like an AI overlord.
I think that's what's running things. So my current theory now is that Renaud crashed the ship, everyone on board dead, he's presumed dead, and he went out into At-Aten, maybe discovered there was no actual supervisor, and he's just kind of squatting in the tower. Everything's running itself, he's got food, he's comfortable, it's a safe place. Just because at the end when they have the hologram of Renaud talking, you don't see his face. Why disguise him if we're not going to now see his face later? So I think in the next episode, we're probably going to meet a new character who they don't say, oh, that's Captain Renaud, but we put it together that like, well, here's a new guy late in the game. We haven't seen the captain's face. Probably him. So he either got there, realized it was the Mint, and he's just biding his time hoarding gold, collecting actual treasure, or the more optimistic view is he got there, saw what At-Aten is, where it's this kind of forgotten paradise where these people can live in peace, and yeah, they kind of have menial jobs, but they have homes and they're safe and they're well fed and their kids are happy. He might have said that's the actual treasure, which is a little cheesy, but I think it would play.
That's possible.
And I think I was wrong about KB being not human. I thought she was like an android or something for a while.
I mean, she still could be.
But she cried in this one.
Oh, yeah.
Not saying it's impossible, but I just feel like...
But the Westworld robots can?
Yes. Yeah. It's not impossible. It's just they specifically showed that she was crying, so I feel like there is some human in there.
Okay, so maybe she's just a person that got into an accident or something as a kid, and then they had to, like,
Yeah, now she's kind of fragile.
Yeah, so that's a cyborg, right? Like
that would be a cyborg, yeah, human-machine interface, yeah. Yeah, so I thought that was kind of the end of my notes, but I thought it was a great episode. Last episode, I wouldn't say it was so bad that, like, I was out of the show. It just kind of felt like a non-event.
Well, yeah, it just felt like they had that one thing that they had to, like, the tower with the coordinates, and they had to get there.
And I love that part. The lore parts were great.
Well, yes, and that's totally fine, but then the remainder of it was really just them, just like, well, what do we do? I don't know. What do you think we should do? I don't know.
Yeah. they might have had some ideas, like, let's show the negative version of At-Aten, where it's kind of the same planet, but kind of not, and the kids here are warriors, but they didn't make it seem dire at all. Like, it was just kind of goofy. And
yeah, it was very misplaced, I think.
Tahu says his favorite part was when Jod is panicking because the pirates are coming, and he's coming up with the plan, like, we got to check here, we'll break into groups, this and that. All the kids are jumping on the bed having a pillow fight. And he says, are you listening to this? And the kids say, yes, we're listening. And he says, oh yeah, what did I just say? And then Fern says, are you listening to this? Kind of a classic kid joke, but yeah, that was really funny. Yeah. I really liked in this episode that the kids got to be kids. even when they're supposed to be undercover as these like weird elders, they're like dancing around and looking for things, and they're just excited to be on a planet. And Tahu, you have kids, so I'm sure that rang very true for you. Just the kid's snarky attitude that you can get. Anything else? Kind of breeze through that one quick. Anything else that stood out to you?
I mean, I guess the only other thing that stood out to me is like, why Jude Law have to do us like that at the end? Why?
He might not be a total bad guy. Him being the captain might be, okay, I'm no longer playing this game where I have to dance around to try to get them to agree to things. If I'm the captain, I can just say, we're going to do this, do this, do this. I'll get them home, I'll get my money, and just be done with it. Because if he was really a monster, he could have just killed them. He could have left them.
Well, yeah, but they're never going to, like you said earlier, they're never going to show that in a Star Wars project. And so I'm wondering if maybe he is actually supposed to be like...
He could be.
Evil.
He very well could be. I feel just because the amount of time we spent with him that he's going to be not quite a good guy, but not a bad guy. You know, like that lovable scoundrel kind of character where...
They would, I think, be wise to make him like that, because I think that's kind of like what the show leans more into. It makes more sense for it to go.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to have like a dour, downer ending where you spent 5 episodes with this character and he just sucks.
I mean, I really hope not, because I think I said at the outset of all of our, live streams that I enjoy. Like I would say the only thing I come to Star Wars for is for, more of a, like a happy, whimsical kind of...
Yeah, you want the fantasy and the fun, and you're okay with a little bit of drama mixed in, but you don't want it to be heavy with a joke here and there. You want it to be fantasy.
Well, yeah, that's... I mean, and of course, having it be, pirate themed and then, kids in it, I just don't see it going a way.
Yeah, Goonies had a happy ending, and that's kind of the bar.
I thought that it was, weird to have him go so hard at the end in, a negative direction.
Well, now the kids, because there was that trap door thing with the stool, and Wim hits it and they all fall, so they're separated from him, and he grabbed the lightsaber. I kind of have a feeling in the next episode it's going to play out where he's about to leave. He's all set to go. He's got the lightsaber, he's got the coordinates at, and he's in charge of the ship. He has SM-33. He has everything he needs to go and get the treasure by himself, and the other pirates, and probably Pocket, what a weird name, will... have the kids captured or nearly, and he's going to come in and play the hero.
Oh, yeah, that could be. That could be.
I would just be kind of surprised, maybe in a way pleasantly surprised because it subverted my expectations, but I don't necessarily want him to be a bad guy. And all of my wild theories for this show have been completely incorrect, so I think simpler is better in theorizing what's going forward. And just using knowledge of having seen plenty of other stories play out, I think it's going to play out in those kind of predictable, but instead of, that sounds like a negative, so I'll say comfortable ways.
Yeah.
Because it seems like if he could have just challenged for the captaincy, he would have done it way earlier. So something changed. He knew there was treasure. Maybe when he heard that it was a mint, then the treasure was real, it was no longer theoretical.
Or that the treasure was basically I can print as much money as I want. It's not like a chest of gold.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So maybe then it made the stakes way higher.
Yeah, on that, I wonder if there is some outside, or supposed to be some outside contact with the outside world from AT-AT and into the galaxy. Because if they're the mint, if they're printing all this money, the money would have to have gone out to the galaxy. Otherwise, why print it?
But wasn't the money
it?
that the kids were carrying around was different than what everybody else?
Yeah, it was ultra rare. So if they're still minting money, where is it? Is it just falling into a warehouse?
Wouldn't it just be on their planet?
It could be, but wouldn't...
using it for commerce?
But why would it be a mint if they're just using it on their own planet? Because if there was
don't we have mints in the United States, for instance?
Sure, and it gets dispersed out to the country. It doesn't all just stay in one state.
Well, yeah, but they have a whole planet.
Okay. I was under the impression that it being a mint for the Republic meant that it was making galaxy-wide currency.
It might have used to do that, and then, after whatever event, which I would hope that we learn about the history of this place, the actual history of it, right?
Yeah, I think we're going to get at least a big
before
piece of the
it
puzzle.
comes to a close, and then maybe that will tell us a little bit more.
Yeah,
about that.
for sure. Yeah.
Like they used to do this for the Galaxy whatever, and then after a certain point in time, they got cut off from them for whatever reason, and then they just kept going on like everything was normal.
I really still feel like the planet is on automated mode where the things are just happening. The adults are doing their analyst jobs. It seems like every other person was an analyst, and the money might even be going through an assembly line and just getting like dumped into a pile because there's no longer shipments going out. I mean, that might not be the most important detail, but it was also interesting because the adults clearly knew that they were supposed to be keeping the secret. When they wanted to get the transmission out, they said, we can do it in a way that it doesn't give away where the planet is, but it's like, well, not really.
I mean, maybe the very fact that there's a mint on the planet makes it like everybody would, like all of the pirates, it would just be like...
That's true, yeah. All the adults might know, like, totally we're making the money here, so if we put it out there that we're making the money, we don't... they probably don't know that they have that giant gun on the school, but that's like one gun for an entire planet that we know of.
Yeah.
That could be. They could be like, well, we have to keep it a secret because we want to keep living here. It might not be the prison planet that we assumed it was from the start.
There's definitely a dystopian feel, but that could just be because it's basically like a forgotten relic of, you know, they don't have any connection. Like,
well, even the adults are kind of treated like children, where the robot was like, oh, we detected a surge at your station, show me your hands, and like they're kind of talking down to him. I mean, he was hiding something, so the robot wasn't totally in the wrong, but it's just interesting that they're also kind of treated like that, and they don't really have freedom. That I guess they do to a degree, but they are still being policed pretty heavily. Tahu is asking if we have not seen a restraining bolt since A New Hope, possibly Return of the Jedi. I don't remember the last movie they were in, but I know they show up throughout like the Clone Wars cartoons and things like that. Just the bolts they put on the droid that kind of control their parameters. That is a good question. They definitely put one on Return of the Jedi. I feel like they put one on when C-3PO had the battle droid head. No, there wouldn't be a restraining bolt there. Yeah, it's a good question. But I know they come up a lot. It's kind of just like a piece of Star Wars when they need to answer the question of, well, why does an SM-33 just do this, restraining bolt? Or why doesn't any droid just react this way? Yeah. You could just change their programming as you need. Okay, well, I don't think I have anything else in this episode, do you?
I don't think so.
All right, so I thought it'd be kind of fun. I might do a video, like a recorded, scripted video on like a year-end recap, because I put my first video out mid-January for this channel. So it's been pretty much a year, and since this is the last Saturday, the last live stream of the year, I thought it'd be kind of fun to do like a little bit of a recap, but also get your perspective, because it's eating up a lot of my time. And so the idea for the channel was we had some personal things going on one year. It was kind of a rough year. You okay? It was kind of a rough year, and I was always a big fan of Star Wars, but I really threw myself into it, like disappeared into it. Like whenever we got stressed out, I would watch a movie, read a book, play a game, whatever. And I kind of had it in the back of my head to do the channel. And I said, well, let me make a bunch of videos first to see if making it kind of a job ruined the love of Star Wars for me, because I didn't want to do that. If it felt like an obligation where I wasn't enjoying it anymore, I would have just stopped and never made the channel and just kept liking it as a pastime. And I also figured the worst case scenario there is now I have a backlog of videos to launch with. So, and that's obviously the route that it went, where when I launched, I had like 40 something videos made, which was a good and a bad thing. It was good because it was nice to have that backlog, especially when I flipped that house this year. I was there like 24/7. If I wasn't working my regular job, I was working at the house. So I ate up my entire backlog of videos. But I got so much better at editing that it was like painful for me to put out like kind of a crappy video when I knew I was so much better, but I didn't want to throw away the 30 in between. I know I talked to you about it. So how do you feel about me doing this so much?
Well, I mean,
okay.
You know, I'm glad that that it's given you something, you know, that you can really focus a lot of attention, you know, into something that you care about. And you're kind of, hopefully, ideally, the goal would be to turn into something of a job maybe in the future.
Yeah, I think that's the dream for a lot of YouTubers, but for sure, I mean, it's been a huge learning curve, but it's been cool. I mean, we don't have a million people watching now, but Tahu, Chris, they comment on almost every video. They watch almost every video. They've been in almost all of our live streams. I think Tahu's been in all of them. I mean, only 5 so far, but, you know, got to start somewhere. So it is cool to already build this little community and have people. And there's other regular commenters, which is cool. And I, you know, look forward to seeing their perspectives and talking Star Wars with other long-term fans. And that's been a lot of fun.
Because that's also something I can't give you, because I'm not...
yeah, you're like a casual fan, but yeah, I'll go deep, and you're like, okay.
Yeah, so you have like a little community that you've sort of, you know, been able to
get to kind of cultivate it, which has
yeah.
been fun. And it's a huge learning process, but I also really enjoy the video editing side of it, and I always try to look at, if I can get 2 things done instead of 1, to me, because I'm always very goal-oriented, I'm also picking up the skill of video editing. I'm getting better at writing, which is something I've always enjoyed. So those things are fun. Recently, I put out a really long video where I pitched my version of what they should do next with the Star Wars saga in movies. And I spent a lot of time outlining it, but then I just kind of came up with it on the fly in the room, and I recorded it for like over 2 hours, cut it down to just under an hour. But just to be able to flex those muscles of writing and storytelling, because... you know, me and Mike have the comic that we're doing, but to do a comic book, it's very slow moving. It's a couple hours for him to draw a page. It's a few hours for me to color a page. So a 25-page comic is endless labor. We love it, but the writing doesn't happen quick enough to kind of scratch that itch. So this has been fun. Even though a lot of my videos are lore, I still try to tell them in a sequential way where it has that beginning, middle, and end. It has that 3-act structure without me changing what the lore is. So it's been a fun exercise.
Yeah.
I think going forward into 2025, we're not sure what's going to happen with the live streams when Skeleton Crew wraps up. I'd like to keep them going. I don't know if you want to commit to every single week. I might try to get like rotating guests, even if it's through StreamYard or something, where I can get, you know, like my friend Joey, he's part of So Wizard Podcast. I do movie reviews for them on their YouTube channel, but they also have a weekly podcast, and they've been going for years with never missing an episode. He's a big Star Wars fan. You know, I can reach out to other creators, even if they're not exactly in the space, the exact space, and get different perspectives. I think that could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I know we talked about that. That's probably, you know, I think if everybody kind of wants to do that, that would be not a bad idea.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't know if I can commit to seeing everybody every single Saturday.
Yeah, you have your own things going on. I mean, you're starting school up again soon and things. So, yeah, but we're going to be doing something. We're not going away entirely.
I had the idea that maybe we could just, like, watch, you know, basically Star Wars in chronological order, because I've never done that. But like I am like weirdly OCD and like completionist, so it would probably be something that would like scratch a little bit of an itch for me. So I
Are you talking just movies, or are you like everything?
well, I'm talking the whole bit. And if we can do that, and then maybe do like, you know, depending on the medium, right? So if it's like Mandalorian or something like that, which I really did like that show, we could maybe do like...
Yeah, that's definitely your favorite bit of Star Wars.
Yeah, and like a movie, you know, we could either do like one live stream based on like rewatching all the prequels. You know, we can kind of, you know, schedule it out however you want, because there is a lot of Star Wars. So. Yeah,
because you did watch the Clone Wars cartoon, which I think you enjoyed enough, because it's very whimsical and kind of easy to digest.
Yeah. I mean, at a certain point, I kind of like...
Yeah, I mean, 7 years of it, yeah.
But if we're going to be talking about it, you know, every week.
Well, also, because we were putting it on like, okay, we're done with work, we're going to watch it for 3 hours.
Oh, right.
We were really marathoning it. So now going forward, what we could do is, most of the episodes, or most of the story arcs are 2-parters. So we could do like, okay, let's do 4 episodes this week, not like today.
Right.
So do 2 arcs, we can take some notes and then talk about them at the weekend. Yeah, that would be a fun thing to do. And then you get like full coverage of the entire saga.
And I'm sure in there will be things that I actually have not seen, so I'll be seeing them again for, you know, like this, seeing it for the first time. You know,
yeah, because you haven't even watched the original movies in a long time.
Not in a long
We watched A New Hope not that long ago.
But I know that there was actually shows that I don't think I've ever seen.
The only show that you didn't sit all the way through is Andor.
I did not. Yeah, I mean, maybe I saw one episode, maybe.
I think one, maybe we started the second, and you didn't say, like, turn this off, I hate it, but...
a little too dark for me,
Yeah.
but if we're doing a live stream about it, I would watch it, because it's not like it's horrendous or something. I thought it probably actually was very well done. But
It is very well done, but I do see what you mean, because for a lot of people, at least from what I've seen, it's their favorite Star Wars thing since Disney took over.
because probably also many people, too, that are saying that might be, like, older fans like
Yeah,
you.
I think that's what's happening,
And
yeah.
so for you, you know, you would... Obviously, that's almost like seeing Star Wars, like, kind of bleed out into, like, a different sort of medium. Like,
Yeah, it's the
you know,
adult version, yeah.
It's exactly, it's like a more adult version of it.
Yeah, and I really liked it. It is very well made. My not issue with it, but why it's not my favorite thing they've done is because it doesn't have the fantasy and the fun to it. It's
Yeah.
You could change like Republic and Empire out to different names and it's not even a Star Wars show.
Yeah.
But I think rewatch it. Well, I'll rewatch it. If you want to watch it too, that'd be good because probably the biggest Star Wars thing announced for 2025 is Andor Season 2.
Right. And well, so like I'm saying, if you want to keep doing the live streams and everybody kind of agrees that that's something that they would like to see, then we could do that, where we could just watch everything chronologically, and we would have to obviously include that one in there.
And if the timing becomes an issue, it's also something where we could watch them chronologically and talk to the camera like this, but then I can put it up at a later date. That way it doesn't have to be Saturday, 6 p.m. We can, we have time on a Tuesday real quick. Let's, if we had to, because that'd be fun to do.
Yeah.
Chris is asking what the comic book is about. It's nothing to do with Star Wars, so I didn't really want to bring it up on this channel too often. But it's kind of a coming-of-age story about a group of friends in high school. It's kind of like our version if we got to do a Nicktoon. So all the characters are loosely based on me and my friend who I do the comic with, Mike Virgilio. But instead of one character being him, one character being me, we kind of took like, oh, this is our insecure part and made that a character, and this is our angry part and made that a character. So it's more of an amalgamation of both of us in all the characters. And we keep it light and we keep it fun, and then there's a little bit of drama thrown throughout.
Yeah.
So we have fun with it.
But I think it's very good. I think it's very well done.
Yeah, it's relatively kid-friendly. I mean, PG may be pushing it to PG-13 at the worst, but we don't go anything crazy. It could easily air on, like, Nickelodeon, I would think.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so we have a ton of fun with it. It's called Social Studies, if you wanted to look it up. Actually, on Social Studies, I don't remember the website. It's been a while. I think it's socialstudiescomic.com. The first issue for digital, there's a pay what you want thing. You could just put in 0 and download the PDF for free and check it out and see if it's for you. So yeah, the channel going forward, more lore videos, of course. That's like the backbone of it. I've been trying to do a nice split where I do original or prequel trilogy stuff. I guess you could say George Lucas era stuff. And then I've been trying to do Legends at least once a week. That's the expanded universe, all the books and stuff when George Lucas owned it, but it was never officially the story. But people really love it. I mean, that's what I grew up on, because for most of my childhood, there was 3 movies, and that was all it was ever going to be. Yeah. So I try to do a Legends once a week, try to do other lore. I don't really have like a set schedule on like what's coming next lore-wise. It's kind of, I mean, I'll read through the Star Wars encyclopedias line by line and just write ones down that seem interesting and then try to make a lore video. Sometimes there's only 2 sentences on it, and other times I get a 15-minute video. More original writing I would like to do. So far, that long one I put out is pretty well received. My videos usually take some time to gain traction, like the first couple days it seems slow, and I'm always afraid, oh no, this one's not going to make it. But then after a few weeks, it's 500, 600, 700, which for my level, I think that's pretty solid. I also want to start doing interviews. I want to reach out to writers, artists. I emailed Sideshow Collectibles because I have so many Star Wars hot toys that I love collecting. I want to talk to the people who design them. How does this happen? What is the process? How'd you get into it? So I want to talk to a lot of people in the Star Wars space on any level. You know, the guy who held the boom mic in The Mandalorian. I just want to talk to a guy who maybe helped design the volume, if I could figure that out. Like, it'd be so cool to get all these outside people who bring this thing to life, because there's way more people involved than the few faces you see on the screen, or the big writer names. You know, like, not going to get Jon Favreau, he's a busy guy, but, you know, someone who helped him make the thing come to life. One of the Grogu puppeteers could be really cool. So that would be a really fun thing. and also reaching out to companies like Titan Comics sent over a compilation of short stories as like a review copy. So I want to reach out for more of those things. One, it'd be cool to get the stuff, but just to bring different reviews and aspects to the channel that might go under the radar, because this collection of short stories only printed in Star Wars Insider magazine. If you don't have a subscription, you didn't read the stories. So I could review them, recap them, and that spreads them to more people, which I like. So that's kind of the state of it all. Thanks, guys, for watching, for tuning in, for always commenting. It's very cool. It means a lot. Going strong. We should be here next week at the same time. When are we going to Hell's Kitchen? Because it's a Saturday, right? It's like mid-January?
Like end of January.
Okay, I'll put a community post for it, but there is going to be a Saturday in January we're going to miss. We're driving to a casino to go to Gordon Ramsay's restaurant for our anniversary. Anything else?
Oh,
I think she's had
what
enough.
she said in the show was one of the kids saying what was she saying when she meant like something was cool?
Oh,
like,
wizard.
I kept hearing like them say wizard, and I was like, perhaps King Gizzard and Lizard Wizard, maybe.
No, that's
my
what-
favorite band of all time.
That's what it's Joey, Markellis, and Aubrey are the core people of So Wizard podcast. I do stuff on YouTube for them.
So this is something that is said in their
Not a lot. In the Phantom Menace, in episode 1, Anakin is showing his friends his podcast, and his friend says, "That's so wizard, Annie." And that's the first time that was said, and I think it was the only time it was said until in The Mandalorian, when he gets his new ship, the super fast one, the small one. Mm-hmm. He says wizard, but he kind of like doesn't like really sell it. So the kids are saying it now 3-4 times in the show, which I thought was really funny.
I'm gonna just start saying, "Wow, that's so King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard." I'm
Yeah, that's nice and quick to say.
I'm gonna start doing it. I'm gonna do it, and it's gonna be like inspired by Star Wars, but ultimately it's going to not be about Star Wars, but it's gonna be inspired by.
Okay, you do that. You get that out every time. Tahu's saying that the next episode of Skeleton Crew is on New Year's Day there. Yeah, for us it's New Year's Eve, which is even worse. I mean, I'm guessing it's the same for you. I think it's the same kind of all around the world where it's celebrated. But New Year's Eve is when everything happens. New Year's Day, people are tired.
Yeah, everybody's kind of like more back to normal.
A lot of people hungover.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's going to be an interesting one. I mean, Christmas Eve was one thing because you're out with family and everything, and now New Year's Eve, where it's just like probably one of the biggest going out nights of the year, at least here in the
States. Be at parties, out to dinner, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So
I didn't intentionally make these on Saturday to avoid the Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve having to watch them straight away, but it's kind of working out.
yeah, that's worked out nicely.
Yeah, I wanted to push it further in the week so that when we talked about it, it was fresher in your mind for the next episode.
Yeah.
Because we originally talked about Sunday, but Sunday nights get hard with going back to work on Mondays. And all right, cool. Well, I think we're going to end it there. A little bit shy of an hour, but that's fine.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I'm really liking the show. I hope... Oh, that's one more quick thing we can cover. I said before that I don't think it's going to get a second season. As much as the show seems pretty widely loved, if you go online, I've not seen much criticism for it. People are really enjoying it, even some people who have kind of fallen out of love with Star Wars. But the problem is I think so many people already walked away from the franchise that it's just not getting viewership numbers from what's reported.
But
it is.
But
you have to take it all with a grain of salt because no one really puts out exact numbers, but
yet they do, they did the Acolyte and then now they're doing this. So, I mean, I guess perhaps they already had them planned and shot and whatever. But, it looks like they're not, obviously averse to doing new stuff.
No, which I'm glad. I'd like them to explore more things and see what works and what doesn't, because the Acolyte, for some reasons of the show, for some reasons behind the scenes, which is unfortunate, I think that one turned more people off than even like the sequel movies, which were not widely loved. I don't want to get into just what's good, what's bad, but the fact is, from all the reports that I've seen, the numbers for Skeleton Crew just aren't there to justify a second season, which is a real shame because it seems like if they stand behind it.
But although if in the last couple episodes they just tell a really nice tight story, then
yeah, that's true. If it's just one and done and it's great,
you can
I'm happy.
revisit it.
I'd rather have quality over quantity.
Yeah.
And the other thing I guess to consider is maybe even when the finale airs, it doesn't have the numbers, but word of mouth could spread. It gets on streaming. I do know a lot of people wait until a series is over to watch it all in one go.
Yeah.
So there's still hope. All right, well, guys, thanks again for watching. Everyone who watches it on the replay, thanks for watching. Join us if you can. We like taking the questions and stuff. It's a lot of fun, adds to the conversation. We obviously have to go and get this dog some food before she really loses her mind.